In this midweek podcast, we're looking at the book of Second Chronicles. Now, we have had discussions before where we're looking at the books of Samuel, Kings, and Chronicles and how they're kind of telling the same story. I almost wish we had these books put together and then written as books that were written by multiple authors. Chronicles is probably written by Ezra. When we're looking at these books, they're telling the story of the kings. And I will put this up in the video here as well. But here is a poster that I have hanging in my hallway out here that I shared with you last week when we were looking at one of the books of Kings. And now this week, while we're looking at Second Chronicles, we really are starting to see where this portion of the Old Testament history is looking at, we went through the part where we're looking at all of the judges, the leaders of the Israelite people, the judges, Moses, Joshua, and then this long list of judges that they had, and then with the kings. And really, unless you're just like a total Bible nerd or a total Old Testament nerd, you probably can't talk a lot about all of these kings. We all know King Saul, then King David, and then King Solomon. And then afterwards, it gets rather complex as we're looking at all of these. I might have my head turned from you, but that's okay because I'm wearing my lapel mic. So we do see that after Solomon, the kingdom split. And so we had the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel. Now, when we look here, we see that they both had Saul as king from 1050 to 1008 BCE. And then David was king of Judah from 1008 to 968 BCE. But you will see that Ishbosheth uh, was king following Saul for just 7 years. And then all of Israel also fell under David. So we had David was king of Judah 7 years longer than he was king of the people of Israel. And then Solomon from 968 to 928, a period of 40 years of both. Now, what we see after that is Rehoboam, the king. Rehoboam was, I'm getting blank now. Is Rehoboam Solomon's son here? Let's go here and check just to make sure I have this right. This isn't one that I can just simply put it. I'm thinking the kings of Judah would be David's family ancestry. So after Solomon died, his son Rehoboam succeeded him as king. And then following down the line of Judah here, Rehoboam, all the way down to Zedekiah, who was also known as Mathaniah. Now, for the kings of Israel, the kingdoms divided, and Jeroboam, who was not a son of Solomon, then led the kingdom of Israel. Now, what we find when we're reading and studying the book of Second Chronicles is that depending who was king of each of Judah and Israel, there was some switching up between the 12 tribes of Israel. Sometimes some of the tribes would leave Israel and join Judah, and then sometimes these tribes would leave Judah and join Israel. So it did not stay completely the same, although the kingdom of Israel was taken and captured and obliterated before the kingdom of Judah by about, what is that, about 130 years or so. About 130 years after the kingdom of Israel was devoured and taken, then the kingdom of Judah lasted another 130 years. But when we're studying these stories of the kingdoms and getting into Chronicles, now Second Chronicles really a big part of that's talking about the building of the temple, and that was kind of like the vision David had for his son Solomon to build the temple, and so working at getting the temple built in Jerusalem. Remember, David moved the capital of his nation to Jerusalem from Hebron. I think he led from Hebron. He also led from a couple of other cities during his reign, but he ended up in Jerusalem. So during this period where the people begged for a king for the Israelites, the 12 tribes. Um, Really, there were 13 tribes. The house of Levi did not count as a tribe, but Joseph's two sons each counted as a separate tribe. So that's how we maintain the 12 tribes. There were also, while they had the 12 tribes of Israel, there were also 12 tribes of Ishmael, which, okay, if you're looking at a map, here's the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 tribes of Ishmael were just to the east of them in this area over here. And then farther down, you have one of the other sons of of Abraham down in this area. So, looking at the sons of Abraham that became nations, you have the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes of Ishmael, and then one of Abraham's other sons down in here. And then up in here in the space, you have two nations that came from the sons of Lot, who were also Lot's grandsons. So if you want to get into that drama, go back to the beginnings of the Old Testament and read into that. Yeah, nothing that I want to participate in a conversation at this point, because at this point in the history, we're looking at the history of the people while they're building the temple, establishing the temple in Jerusalem, and following the lives and leadership of the kings of what has now become two nations, Judah and Israel. And at different points in time, you have different numbers of the 12 tribes being part of Judah and those being part of Israel. And it did not stay the same from this time after Solomon all the way to the end. It did not stay the same. And if you read in Second Chronicles, you will you will see part of their history where different tribes left and then joined. Okay. What else do we need to know about the book of Second Chronicles? Well, it's more of this story that goes together when you're talking about the Israelite people from the time they begged for a king. You know, the lesson in life is be careful what you ask for, because you might get it. And sometimes what we think we want, when we really get it, it's like, ooh, this didn't turn out to be so great. And so that's kind of what happened with the people here. Um, some of their beliefs about God weren't exactly correct. They believed that God allowed them to kill their enemies when they were being good, and God allowed their enemies to kill them when they were being bad. Uh, that just doesn't kind of make sense to me. That um, I don't think God sends people out to murder other groups of people and gain their lands and take their property and make slaves out of them. That's not the God I know. And I can't imagine that being the God that you know. If you truly know God and God's message, it just doesn't match. So when we read the Old Testament, we're looking at the history of what those people believed about their world. So when we're looking at the kings here, all of this is not contained in Second Chronicles, but you will see some of this. And we have not had our midweek podcast yet for Second Kings. I'm trying to deal with the Old Testament chronologically. That's why last week we were looking at First Kings. This week we're looking at Second Chronicles. We've already looked at First Chronicles before First Kings, but Second Chronicles actually falls chronologically before the things that we see in Second Kings. Although, really, I would like to take First and Second Samuel, First and Second Chronicles, First and Second Kings, and kind of make that one chunk of history and put it all together. But what does this make you think of? When I'm looking at this list of the kings of Judah and the kings of Israel, some were good, some were bad. Some were basically good, but had some flaws and did some things wrong. Some were basically flawed and bad, but they occasionally did some things that were good. I don't know. I've been thinking the last several days about making a podcast on this, and I kept thinking about the American presidents. And I really didn't want to make a podcast on the American presidents, but if you look at the 47 presidents we've had, although President 45 and 47 is the same man, and we have another president who served non-consecutive terms, so it was actually the president two different times, so has two different numbers. So 47 presidents, and there have been 45 different men that have been presidents. There have been no female presidents yet. Some have been good. Some have been mostly good, but did some things that were wrong. Some that have been mostly bad, but did some things that are right. There are a few that had zero issues with drama and what's the word for it? My mind is blank today. I shouldn't be recording content this late. But when people are just stirring up stuff and things that detract from their job, we've had a few presidents that have had no issues like that. No character flaws that made splashy, juicy news. And then we're experiencing a president now who is all lies and all drama and he just basically all crap. Almost all the presidents, even the ones that I have not liked, and I was born while John F. Kennedy was president. So from Kennedy all the way to the fecal matter we have in the White House today, I've lived during quite a few presidents. And there have been some that I haven't really cared for, and there's some that I haven't really liked. But even then, I felt and believed they were doing what they thought was right for the country long term. This is this current president who has served two non-consecutive terms is the only time that I've honestly felt and believed that we had someone who cared absolutely nothing about the country, but only about themselves. So, thank you for watching. if you like this podcast, be sure to share it, be sure to like it, and be sure to subscribe. I see there's a lot of people that watch this that are not subscribers of this YouTube channel. Please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't send you a notice or anything. It just uh, uh, gives you an alert when you log into YouTube that, hey, here's a new one of these podcasts you might like to watch. So that's been my connection with Second Chronicles. I have had some thinking about the presidents as our leader. You know, when we're talking about the leaders of people that live in the United States, it's not really kings, but when we're talking about Second Chronicles and ancient Israel, we're talking about, well, their leaders went from their family structure. Abraham was their leader. Then Israel, Jacob was their leader. Israel, Joseph was their leader. Got to Moses was their leader. Then Joshua. Then the whole string of the judges, some of which you could name, some you can't. And then we get into the kings: Saul, David, Solomon. We can name some more, but we can't name them all. Okay. Bye. I'm going to be quiet now. I hope you enjoy looking at Second Chronicles as we continue this study of the history of the Israelite people.